Hello, students. Hi, this is Ritik Sir, your biology SME. Yeah, welcome to the Memo Neet. I'll still wait for 2 minutes. So you're well aware with the previous topics, right? Like what all the previous topics were. You're well aware. So in the initial video, we had discussed regarding the reproductive health, proper definition about reproductive health, and what are the rules, regulations, and what are the criteria the government have, you know, initiated in order to take care of this health problem, which is related to the reproduction, and to maintain a family, planning, and to overcome the population scenario, and also to decrease the mortality and infant death rate. Right. Then what are the contraceptives? Which are being there available in the market was also being discovered, and how they are being inserted, if they are to be used, how they are to be used, and how they have been inserted. So even that has been also discussed, and some questions were also discussed based on those topics. So we next also had this thing called, when I'm talking about reproductive health. So the major scenario that comes is poor health condition, poor pregnancy. Yes. With that, another one thing is sexually transmitted infection, which is major common. What are the reasons why they are being transmitted, and what are the major infections or major diseases, and how to overcome them. So what government is providing the basic rules, regulations with them, and yeah, these things were also being discussed. Mm. So the next concept is infertility. So what do you mean by infertility? Infertility is nothing but unable to produce a child in spite of unprotected sexual coordination. Even with a proper sexual coordination also, if a couple is unable to produce a child, we normally call it as infertility. And in India, this infertility is somewhat common. Like in most of the couples all over the world, including in India, you will be seeing infertility. So that cases are there where couples are unable to produce or unable to have their own children. So, what might be the reason for this infertility then? What is the major reason? So, the first one is physical or congenital reasons. It could be because of some diseases or the drug tablets that they are intaking. Then it could also because of the immunological aspects or even the physical or psychological aspects also. So in India, what happens is oftenly the female is blamed for not having the children or for being childless. But oftenly, if we consider it in a very matured way, sometimes, or oftentimes, even the father, that is the male, is also responsible for the infertility. Okay, that means, moreover, sometimes you will see the problem in both the parents, and sometime in the male parent, you are going to see the problem. So that's why nowadays, because of the advanced technology and all, what the couple can do is they can go with the specialized healthcare units. Okay. So specialized healthcare units, which is nothing but infertility clinics are there, where they can they can test whether they are having any disorders, whether they're able to produce or bear a child, they're able to produce their uh, it could be in the male, whether a male is able to produce a proper healthy sperm or not. If it is in case of female, whether that female is able to produce proper healthy ovum or not, the egg or not. and how the menstrual cycle is going. So everything is being monitored. And is there any genetical diseases that the parents are having? So everything has been monitored. They have been assessed correctly, and with that, some advances technology, a parent, an individual can have their own children. So those techniques are commonly called as ART, which is nothing but assisted reproductive technologies. So what is this and what kind of technologies comes under ART? Any idea? Right. Yes. So the first one is IVO, as you told, that is in vitro fertilization, and also we have in vivo fertilization also. So what is this IVO technique? In vitro fertilization. Okay. So the fertilization which normally happens outside the body, which is where outside you are actually trying to create a similar condition of that in the that of the body, that is exact condition of the female body that you are creating outside in the laboratory. So where initially you are making the egg to get fertile, and then whatever the egg which has been fertile, right, you are been placing in some else. See, in method, what happens is this is very popularly called as test tube baby program. So in this method, what happens is in vitro condition, where you are going to take the ova from the wife. Okay, it could be a wife or from any donor, which is nothing but any other female. Okay, who is able to produce the healthy ova or ovum, right? And sperm, healthy sperm, again, healthy sperm from the husband or the donor, which is male. So they are going to collect it. Now egg is been collected and the sperm sample is also been collected. So now what they are going to do, they are going, once it has been collected, so they are going to give an artificially, okay, they are going to create an environment and they induce it together to fertilize, and this everything is happening outside, right? So fertilize, and once the egg and sperms are combined to form fertilization, embryo will develop, right? So what happens now after fertilization? Embryo is nothing but fertilized egg will be developed. So they will be placed in an incubator for around 48 hours. And now it is a fertile egg, that is the zygote. So once the zygote is there, it is been inserted back. Okay. So it has been inserted back. Where it is inserted now? It is inserted into the, okay, into the where? So they are been normally collected, right, into the mother implantation, that is mother placenta. So now embryo has been implanted into the uterus of the mother. So obviously, after implantation, the egg is going to get all the sufficient things for its development, and the baby is going to develop. So this is one method which has been widely used, that is in vitro fertilization. So what happens here is the zygote or the, this is one condition. So next is zygote intra fallopian transfer. So here what happens, the zygote itself or early embryo, which is of 8 blastomere cell stage, so they are being transferred into the fallopian tube before fertilization itself. If the mother is not able to give birth to, if she is not able to produce, but her, whatever that reproductive system organ is perfect, but now she is unable to produce an egg. So then what happens? Either the zygote or else the early embryo, which is at the 8 blastoma stage, so will be transferred into the fallopian tube directly. And later on, what happens? During their copulation, obviously, if a sperm, they both get fused and baby fertilization happens. This is one thing. So that is called as zygote intrafallopian transfer. That is, you are actually transferring the zygote or the early embryos into the fallopian tube. So if the blastomere is more than 8 cell stage, that is 8 blastomere cell stage, then they are being transferred into the uterus. Okay. Then it is actually called as IUT, that is intrauterine transfer. You just need to understand what is ZIFT, IVF. Okay. Then you should also know ZIFT, that is zygote intrafallopian transfer. Then IUT, that is intrauterine transfer. So these all things are like, once these things are done, they have been left for further development in the mother embryo. Then what happens? Another thing is, if embryo formed by in vivo fertilization, okay, so it was all about in vitro fertilization, and this is all about in vivo fertilization. Now, if a embryo is being formed by in vivo fertilization, where fusion of gametes within the female body itself, then also that thing could also be used to transfer to assist those female who cannot conceive or who cannot get pregnanted. That means if this is in vitro fertilization, so where you are actually taking the egg, collecting the egg from the donor, and you're collecting the egg, sperms from the donor or from the male parent, you're fusing them externally. And once the development happens, fertilization happens, zygote has been formed, then you are inserting into the uterus of the mother, which is called implantation. But in vivo fertilization, what happens? Everything you are doing inside itself. That means you'll be instead of fusing these things, that is the sperm and egg outside, you are just inserting the egg within the mother body, and you are trying to do this all fertilization inside itself. So another one thing that we can do is, if an embryo has been formed through the in vivo fertilization itself, that means you are not fertilizing them externally, but internally in the mother, that is donor itself. So initially the starting egg, which is fertilized zygote itself, can be taken, and that could be transferred into the another female mother who cannot conceive. So this is also a method where one can get the children. There is another method here. So transfer of ovum collected from the donor into the fallopian tube. See, just concentrate in this line now. This is something very important. Transfer of ovum collected from the donor. So you are collecting the ovum from the donor and you are transferring into where? You are transferring to the fallopian tube. So one technique is GIFT. That is nothing but gamete intra fallopian transfer. Right? So gamete intrafallopian transfer is another method. So where you are going to collect the egg from the donor, then that to where from the another female, and you are actually inserting it to somebody who cannot produce one but can provide a suitable environmental condition for the fertilization and further development. So is another method which has been attempted. For example, a mother is unable to produce an egg, but she has all the condition where initially it could be a supportive for the development of the baby. So that time what we are doing is we are actually collecting the ovum from the donor, and we are inserting it into the fallopian tube. Okay, this is one thing. And later, yeah, fertilization, everything, the egg which is fertilized, right? So first the thing is the donor gives a, you will be collecting the egg, that is ovum, from the donor. And once that donor egg has been collected, the egg as well as the sperm, they are being, you know, made together in such a way that is in vitro condition. So the procedure where sperm joins the egg and leads to the fertilization. And now it is inserted into whom? It is inserted into the mother embryo, that is mother, uh, that is nothing but it has been implanted. Okay, so into the mother, so that if further development normally happens into the mother cell, mother body. So this is another way how the fertilization can happen. There is another method also. We normally call them as IC. Yes, I is nothing but intra cytoplasmic sperm injection. So in this method, what happens? You are actually, in which the embryo in the laboratory is which is sperm, is being, I mean, in out of millions of sperm, they are going to collect any one healthy sperm. Okay. And they are going to inject it directly into this ovum. So it is ovum, and they are going to inject the sperm, okay, into the ovum directly. And now what happens? The sperm will come. So it has been injected the nucleus. Obviously, later on, further fertilization takes place. So this is one way how you can inject a healthy sperm into the ovum itself. Again, there is another method now. So that is called, for example, artificial insemination is one method. So what happens if the male parent is unable to produce the sperm or inseminate the female? Because one reason might be low count of sperms. Okay, so this leads to improper ejaculation. So that time what we normally do is we collect the healthy sperms from the donor or from the male partner, and we try to ejaculate directly here. Okay. So that is through the artificial, and this process is actually called as artificial insemination. In general, this technique, what happens, they are going to collect the healthy semen either from the husband or from the healthy donor. Then artificially, okay, you are going to introduce these sperm or these semen where into the vagina or to the uterus. So into the vagina or to the uterus. So this thing is actually called as intrauterine insemination of the female. You're getting. So intrauterine insemination of the female, where you are collecting the sperms from the donor or from the male parent, and artificially you are going to introduce them either into the vagina or into the uterus. So this is called as intrauterine insemination of the female. I hope this is clear to you. So through there are still many and many methods and techniques have been there and they're highly effective. But you know, to make these techniques 100% accurate, an extremely highly specialized handling is very important. So there has to be somebody who is handling this technique. They should be professionalist, and somewhat some of them are very expensive instrumentation also. So during when a couple is actually going through this process, so an ultimate care should be taken because the chances nowadays chances is good, but still the chances will be around 60-40 something like that. But there is an for some people, some number of people it is affordable. But again, there are some, emotional, religious, and social facts are also there, which are also determine the success rate of this, you know, the technique. But since the ultimate aim of this procedure is to have a children, healthy children, right? So in India, we have many, you know, many of the places where probably, what do you say that? There are many techniques are there, okay, and there are many institutions where in India also you will be afforded with this all kind of techniques. But proper care is again very important, and so there has to be some limit also. And coming over to entire reproductive health, right? So one thing is what happens, the miscarriages, what is happening, or the illegally killing of female, or improper health facilities and improper care to the mother during her pregnancy or after her pregnancy or before her pregnancy. This all leads to improper healthcare and having no proper education regarding the sexual matter, right? So these all might also leads to many occurrence of diseases. So just by having a proper by following the best methods and proper parenthood, one can actually become a pregnant, or one can actually have their children by using the following techniques that I have discussed. So this is somewhat about the reproductive health, a basic chapter on reproductive health, but we cannot ignore it because 2 to 3 questions, almost 2 questions, uh, arises from this particular chapter. So yeah, one important thing about this is, let us see. Fine. So now let us see then. So which of the following is not an example of assisted reproductive technology, that is ART? So this was asked in 2024. See, right now I have explained you, we have discussed. So what are the techniques that comes under ART? One is IVF, GIFT, IUI. So what about this? Okay. What is your answer? Let us see. Yeah. So IUD is not an example of, yes, assisted reproductive technology. Right. So I'll go for the next question then. So what's the question now? In which of the following techniques the embryos are transferred to assist those females who cannot conceive? So these are the option. Yeah. Option C. Let us see. Yeah. Option C. Because when it comes to this ART technique itself, so what are the techniques that comes under this? So one is zygote intrafallopian transfer. Yes. And the another one is intrauterine transfer, IUT. That's true. So these are the only like these two methods are one which actually comes under these are the two methods which has been used for the embryo transfer. So that's why this is the proper answer. And this is there is also a detailed explanation. You can go through the detailed explanation if you want. So why other A, B, and D are not the right answer? Yeah, you will get this these types of questions with crisp and detailed explanation with which topic or chapter it has been asked and from which page number you'll get everything you'll get in the MEMONEET NTA PYQ book. You can check out it, like you can get that. So this was all about this concept, some basic concept. Yeah, thank you.